Hola a todos. Hi everyone around the world joining this session. The Vienna Energy Forum is a perfect place for everyone passionate about the energy sector because here we will put all our ambitions, ideas, and dreams for a sustainable future on the table to transform them in real actions for our cities, countries, and regions. And I'm very glad to have all of you here because you are all demonstrating that we as young people want to be change makers for energy transition. I'll be the moderator of this session. My name is Paola Flores. I'm 22 years old. I'm studying industrial engineering. I'm from Bolivia, and I'm part of Student Energy as the Latin America Regional Coordinator for the Global Youth Energy Outlook. So nice to meet you, everyone. Please, before starting, feel free to share in the chat what is your name, where you are from, and why you are passionate about the energy sector. So let's set the rules. This session will be an informal space. So I ask everyone to feel like you are having a coffee with a mentor that gives you advice on how to start and further your energy career. During the first 15 minutes, we will have like small questions to Mr. Kiva, who will be the speaker, and also he will be responded by the chat, and I will be reading what he says about this. Also, in the last minute, we will have a Q&A space where if you want to ask directly your questions to our speaker, you can ask him by Q&A part, and also you will be able to share your audio on your camera if you want it. You can just click on the buttons in the upper part of your screen to share audio and video, and I will give you the floor. Now it's time for the show, and I have the incredible pleasure of presenting our energy expert, Mr. Kiva, who is currently the Secretary of Renewable Energy at the Ministry of Energy in the government of Kenya. Mr. Kiva has a wide experience in public sector management, having held senior government positions for over 20 years. So welcome, Mr. Kiva, and thanks for being part of this session. To start, because Mr. Kiva is having tech issues, but he will also be part of this amazing session. Mr. Kiva, with all the respect, if you let me do it, we want to know more of you. And I will start doing an icebreaker question, and you can please answer in the chat. In the mornings, what do you prefer, tea or coffee? I would like to know more of that about you. In the meantime, while Mr. Kiva is answering, in my case, I really prefer an energy lover, but to tell you the truth, I love coffee in the mornings. I'm coffee lover. And if you could please respond that, Mr. Kiva, in the chat, I would be very thankful. Also, people who are joining the event, please share any questions you have to Mr. Kiva in the Q&A, because truly he's an incredible leader in the public sector with 20 years of experience. So also, while he's sharing, I would like to share some experience of me of how happy. Okay. So also, if you want any question for Mr. Kiva, and I will start sharing some experience I had in the energy sector, and also Mr. Kiva, you could share any thought or idea you have. We will have like 3 questions, and I will try to respond. This is my point of view, and also if you can do it like giving some messages to young people to join the energy transition, and since your experience, what advice could you give them? I would be very glad if you could do it. If people want to ask him, you could use the Q&A session or the Q&A part of your screen. And also Mr. Kiva will respond it by email at the end of the session. And also would like to let the floor to a participant who has joined us since the beginning. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Paola and Engineer Isaac, Kiva, and nice to meet you today. I'm glad to join the session. I'm also joining from Nairobi, so I'm so happy to know that our from Nairobi. Maybe just to kick off, one of the questions that I was interested about is around the renewable energy space is there's been a lot of talk around how economies can be able to transition from the use of fossil fuel. Maybe perhaps I could give an introduction of myself first. My background is in communication, and I'm studying public policy at Strathmore University in Kenya. And I have a general interest on issues of sustainability. And I'm participating in the Vienna Energy Forum for the first time, and I hope to continue engaging more. So I was just laying a foundation of the question, the energy transition from the fossil fuel and adopting more sustainable or green energy solution. So in your opinion, I would like to know what is the preparedness of countries like Kenya and more even wider in Africa in terms of making that transition from fossil fuel. Are we already there, or this is something that is still a dream to come? Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Kiva is having tech issues and he will not be able to answer their question directly, but for sure, if you can also write your question in the Q&A or in the chat, I will pass him your question by email, and also he will be asking your question. And if you can leave your email, I will make sure he will send you the response. That is an incredible question about how economies can live and be independent on fossil fuels. For example, I'm from Latin America, and my country is economically dependent from fossil fuels and the usage of oil and gas, natural gas. So truly, there is a big challenge around the world on how our economies can live up to depend on fossil fuels. And crucially, I think that young people plays a key role in this transition. And also, for example, something that I would like to share, for example, is that a moment that marked my life, and I decided, I don't know, I want to work in the energy transition is really important, What was a moment that in your life that made you say, okay, I want to be part of the energy transition because I'm passionate about it. I want to do things to change the energy history in my country. In my case, I used to live in the rural areas of Bolivia because I'm Bolivian. And there I saw that communities have no access to electricity, have no access to education or health quality. And I saw that climate change and its effects are being lived by indigenous communities. That was my key point. That is where I started. And that was why I really wanted to be a change maker in the energy transition. So for sure, there is a big challenge for everyone around the world to make use on how young people can be part of the energy transition. I would like to share with you, Dennis, what was that key point that made you understand, I don't know, like, I want to be part of this movement. I want to be part of the energy transition. I want to do something. I'd like to talk with you. And also, Mr. Kiva, if you could share a message or experience you had about why we're motivated to be part of the energy transition, it could be amazing. So Dennis, could you like to share with us your story about how you started your energy passion, maybe?
Yes, I could share. Do I share on the link, or I just speak about it?
Yes, you can directly speak it.
Okay, fine. So for me, it really began. I was working in the humanitarian sector among the Somali refugees in northern part of Kenya and partly in Ethiopia. And I looked at these refugee camps because they were quite huge. They were towning in themselves. And these were people who were really basically depending on the emergency and humanitarian assistance program provided by the UN and agencies. And one of the challenges in terms of how they are able to access the goods and services and also live a quality life was a challenge they experienced because of lack of energy. And I remember my role by then, I was the senior information officer. And one of the things, programs that we did was, first of all, was to support the local communities to be able to be environmental conscious, because due to the overpopulation of the refugee camps, there was a lot of effects on the environment. So we involved a lot of programs to plant trees in collaboration with the national government. And one of the results for that was also to be able to divert the attention from cutting trees and developing more sustainable energy solutions. Of course, this was kind of a far dream because there were really no alternatives. These are people who do not, they live in less than $1, relying on humanitarian rations to survive. So I started seeing that there was a need. And I remember we came up with a project which was supporting them to access information. And we partnered with an organization called Internews. And we were able to supply the refugees solar powered radios, where we'll be using these to broadcast information and them to change some of their behaviors. And slowly by slowly, we started seeing them starting to plant trees. Though the refugee camp was so big, our efforts almost looks like a drop in the ocean. But over the years, I've also worked in those remote parts of Kenya, and I've looked at the challenges that those communities face. And they are not connected to the main grid. And despite the efforts of the government to really expand the connectivity to those rural areas through the last mile program, it is still a challenge for them. And you find that despite this challenge being prevalent, you find these communities are still continuing with the practice of cutting down trees so that they can cook their meals, so that they can light their homes. And this really sparked me to really get interest in terms of getting to learn more about this and really taking action towards this. And I remember while still in those areas is when the government also came up with a project for the wind power. And for me, it was my first time to really experience what a wind power looks like. And this thrilled me further to really say, this is something uninteresting, and this is actually really the future. Coincidentally, I ended up working for an oil and gas company, but I kept on thinking about what happens when this oil gets depleted. Is it the end of the world, or what happens? So that is somehow how I become interested in this conversation. And I'm still building my knowledge, and I still expect to network with people, exchanges, and still attend more conferences and just exchange ideas on how this can happen. Yeah.
Okay, for sure, young people are crucial. And moving, for example, into the professional story, uh, I'm 22 years old and I really wanted to be part of the energy transition. I remember that I started being part of the student energy since like 2-3 years ago. But to tell you the truth to everyone, I'm not just an energy expert. The expert here is Mr. Kiva. And for sure, the challenges in the energy sector, in the energy career of young people is incredible. Why? Because in my case, to be part, but I didn't context. I didn't have the profile to be an energy leader, because I'm studying engineering, but in my region, for example, I don't have a special degree or a special, I don't know, like sector of the universities that they prepare young people to be part of the energy transition. So I didn't have the skills needed. And that remember that was the biggest challenge in my career until now. How do I get educated to be an energy leader? And how did I overcome it? So, and there I truly remember that I looked really suggest to everyone, young people and leaders in general, that want to be part of the energy transition, to look for that kind of opportunities where you can learn and develop your skills as a student energy, the SDG 7 Youth Constituency. And of sure, there are many, many spaces you can work and develop your own skills. So truly, for example, another question that we had for Mr. Kiva is that I will share also in the chat. It was that in your professional story, what has been the biggest challenge of your career so far, and how did you overcome it, Mr. Kiva? If you could also share your thoughts in the chat, that would be really awesome. In my case, as I told you, uh, the biggest challenge was how do I get educated about the energy sector, about the energy system, because there is a huge amount of of knowledge you need to have to understand the whole picture about how the energy system works and how you can be part of it. Education is the first part for sure, and I'm sure that many young people wants to be part of the energy transition and say, I don't know, I want to be part of it, and you want to be part of it, but you say, okay, how do I? My suggestion, Mr. Kiwi, you have any advice to session is like being part of I don't know, is some initiatives that are in your country, in your region, and there are many spaces where young people is needed, and for sure, the and there's something also that I say is that energy transition needs to have the voice and experience of everyone, no matter if you're an engineer, if you are a social, I don't know, professional, a student, if you are a scientist for energy transition, be an energy expert, you can start educating yourself and more things for sure. Um, the energy sector is changing, and more young professionals and students are joining this movement, but don't know where to start, how to start. So, for example, if I could travel years ago to find my myself in the past, I would advise to my of my career, like I don't know, I like to learn more, to share more experiences, to know more about the energy sector and how to do it, like connecting with young people, with other young people. I could advise everyone in this session and all in these sessions that if you want to be the energy, for sure there are many places, because the energy transition uh, needs the voice of everyone. So I would like to invite everyone to be part of the energy transition, to start doing your own things, that you are not alone. There are amazing people like Mr. Kiva, experts, and able and are really happy to share their experience in the life. And for sure, there is in the set that we need to develop skills. And something that is really crucial in the energy sector and young people is that, for example, in my case, in Latin America, in my region, like, to tell you the truth, I don't feel that it's the energy market of the future. In that sense, I would say that we need like many changes happening in the education part, so young people could, and that countries and the world could form young people with the correct skills they need to be part of the energy transition. For sure, that is a big challenge in the energy sector in general. And some of the skills I could say that was valuable for my job and my career until now, because I'm far young. Working together, teamwork is crucial, really crucial. Also, Mr. Kiva, I would like to ask you what skills has proven most valuable for your job and your interest. Um, if first beginning, we asked Mr. Kiva what was a moment that inspired him to be part of the energy transition, and he says that after university, he started working in the building sector, designing electrical energy provision, the profound effect it has on socioeconomic transformation, and he decided to join the energy sector. And the biggest challenge is providing electricity to the remote areas. And often financial bank. So that is an amazing story. He started analyzing a problem, then he found a solution, and he started working in that solution to become real. So also that is amazing, Mr. Kiva. Thank you for giving that inspiration to everyone, that young people around the world who want to be part of the energy transition. If you feel like, I don't know, like you have a problem in your region, in your country, and even in your city or in your neighborhood related with energy sector and generally with climate change, and if you want to be part of it, you find the solution, you start thinking not alone, like connect with everyone in your region, connect with other young people who will be, I'm sure that they will be happy to work with you to find a solution and make that solution come real. So it's a big challenge, but I'm sure that everyone in the around the world is ready to. Also, what was the most problem skills for me? The skills university, electrical engineering, as well as short courses he has undertaken on energy economics, planning, and financial model. So that is amazing. So also, if you want to get educated about the energy sector, taking some, uh, you can share on any pages more about how to find courses, scholarships, fellowships, and for sure they will make you a better leader in the future, and you will have incredible opportunities to connect with more people around the world to work in